Now, the initial security awareness briefing goes deeper into the NISPOM, and that is the National Industrial Security Program Operating Manual. So the NISPOM is basically guidance for the clear defense contractor on developing that security program. So the initial security awareness training should familiarize the cleared employee with the NISPOM, as well as requirements under the contract security specification or classification specification, or the DD Form 254. This is that classified part, that part of the contract that describes the classified work. And we'll talk about that more in detail at some other point. And also now we need to look at company policy as applied to protecting classified information. And that's in both in the cleared facility and in other customer locations. And here you also learn how to travel overseas, how to reduce your ability to become a security risk, introduce you to the insider threat program, and into threat in general, how to report espionage attempts, and how to fit into something that we call the continuous evaluation or the continuing evaluation process. Basically is how do we look at ourselves and other cleared employees and determine whether or not they are a risk or we are a risk to national security. And again, those are on the 13 adjudicative criteria that we talked about earlier. So if there's an event in your life or an event in another cleared employee's life that might make classified information or put classified information at risk of unauthorized disclosure, you can self-report or report that other person. It's got to be credible information. You can't just make it up. So another part of the initial security awareness training is also the how to report security violations. You know, I mentioned espionage attempts. We'll talk about security violations and possible penalties that can occur from if you yourself commit a security violation. So it's basically risk management training. What happens if you have classified information? How do you protect it from unauthorized disclosure? And what happens if it is purposefully or accidentally disclosed in an unauthorized manner? So another big thing that's a required training. So these training that I'm reading to you are required as an FSO, as a cleared facility. This has to be provided to your cleared employees. And one of the difficult things about providing this type of training is, one, you've got to find the training, either develop it yourself or purchase it or get a training expert to come in and provide this for your employees. And another one, to wrap up, we had the non-disclosure agreement briefing, the initial security awareness training, and another required training is the insider threat training. And here you will learn how to recognize an insider threat, how to recognize what classified information is vulnerable to the insider threat, and how to reduce that threat. Now, keeping in mind that the insider is somebody with a clearance and a need to know, but they are taking that classified information and either sabotaging it or stealing it or providing it to a foreign country. And so we want to recognize how that happens. And so we're required to provide that briefing. Another required briefing is the derivative classifier briefing. And this stands for anybody who will be working with classified products and providing a new product. So for example, making a copy of a classified document is not derivative classification. However, taking wind tunnel readings or classified raw data and reformatting it into a written document, or doing analysis on classified charts and writing a document out of that, or rewriting a document based on 5 other documents. You're reforming or reformatting classified information into a new format or medium. That is called derivative classifier training. And if you're doing that, or if your employees are doing that, they're required to be trained on how to do this every 2 years. And so all this training that I've been talking about is a requirement and it should be documented. Now, there are many ways to provide training. One is through newsletters, one is through plays, another one is through PowerPoint presentations. If you want to look at some options for purchasing these presentations, we have some at redbikepublishing.com, and you just download them and present them to your employees, full blown out required training topics for you. And then finally, there's the exit briefing. Cleared employees should be giving this briefing once they're terminated or once they move on, so that they understand for the life of them, of their whole life, basically, until things become declassified. They are responsible for protecting that classified information that they learned while on the job. And these responsibilities still continue even though they're no longer working on the job. They still have to protect that classified information. So in summary, I've discussed very quickly, if you're a cleared employee or if you're a owner of a clear defense contractor company and people are coming in to perform classified work, there of the training that needs to be provided to them. One, the FSO should be onboarding all of the cleared employees and maintaining their security clearances and describing to them or training them on how to do this classified work. So the other part of this podcast and video is talking about, a clearance has been granted, and we'll cover the DD Form 254 NISPOM and the security training again, but we'll cover it from a different point of view, from the government's point of view. And this is for, what happens when the government grants that security clearance. You could be receiving a job with a company or an agency performing unclassified work in this scenario. And you'll receive your onboard training, which includes the SF-312 non-disclosure agreement briefing, the initial security briefing, delivered classifier briefing, and insider threat briefing. Even though the FSO brought you into this security clearance system, awarded you your security clearance and performed the high level training, there's still much more to do to ensure that this cleared employee, whether it's you or somebody else, understands how to perform on the classified contracts. So this high level training and onboarding is enough to get you authorized to prepare for the work. Now, the rest of the preparation will come from sources to include peers, supervisors, program managers, and more. So this is more the informal training provided on the job as you actually begin performing on this classified contract. So, here's how it might play out from the top to the bottom. The government contracting agency or program office flows down the classified work to the clear defense contractor. And so part of the contract is the contract security classification specification. Again, that's a DD Form 254. Now, according to the information on this website, the DAMI website, is the purpose of the 254 is to convey security requirements, classification guidance, and provide handling instructions or procedures for classified material received and or generated on a classified contract.